Today I'm talking about 5 ways to level up your drone footage. So I've been flying my drone a lot over the past few weeks. As I was in Alaska and then working my way down the West Coast in my van, I was able to think a lot about what makes a drone shot more interesting and more fun to watch. The first tip I have is to fly low. It's really easy to just launch the drone and shoot it high up in the air and get these crazy high perspectives that you would never get. That's definitely a cool part of drones. But when you fly it low, you get this crazy sense of speed and motion and depth in your shot that you're not going to get when you're up high. And usually when you're flying low, you're also going to be flying past objects. And this is just another great way to integrate speed and excitement into the drone shot. And then if you reverse it, you're able to kind of surprise the viewer because you have things that aren't visible and suddenly coming into frame and whizzing past the lens. So there's a lot of options when you're flying low that just adds an extra flair to the shot. So along with that comes the second tip, which is to use ND filters. That's these little guys here. If you haven't heard of ND filters, they're basically just sunglasses for your camera lens. So what that does is when you put one of these on your drone lens, it enables you to lower the shutter speed that you're filming at. And when you're filming at a lower shutter speed, you get more motion blur. So the rule of thumb is that you want to double your frame rate for your shutter speed. So if you're filming in 4K 24 frames per second on your drone, you want to be shooting at 1/48 ideally, but that's going to be 1/50 for your shutter speed because that's double of 24. By doing this, that's the most cinematic motion blur you can get in your shot, and without these ND filters, you're just not going to be able to shoot at a shutter speed that low. So this works really well with the first tip. When you're flying low and you also have a low shutter speed because you have an ND filter, it's going to give you that natural motion blur with all of the things you're flying past, whether it's trees or the grass or rocks. It's going to have a natural motion blur while you still have the static landscape that you're focused on. The third tip is to reveal your landscapes. Don't just immediately show the landscape that you're capturing. Figure out ways to kind of slowly reveal the landscape, whether that's using something in the foreground that you're rising the drone up from behind, or whether that's panning to the left from behind a ridge line, something that can kind of, it's like you're drawing a curtain over your landscape, something that can kind of make it a bit more of an exciting reveal rather than just showing the landscape and having that be it. You can even use a character to reveal your landscape, where you can start with the drone really close to your character and then just fly straight back as it reveals more and more of the landscape that's in front of your character. So with that, the fourth tip is to film characters. I think a lot of times we forget that a drone is just a camera with a gimbal that you can take anywhere you want. And so again, instead of just launching it way up in the air and filming the landscapes, you can use it just like you'd use a camera on a gimbal. You can use it to move away from a character as they're walking, or get a side pan of a character. It's a really great tool for filming people. And with that, if you're filming by yourself, it's a really easy way to film yourself and get yourself into more of your shots when you're like me and you don't have any friends and you film alone all the time. Now, with all of that being said about motion and adding excitement and energy to your shots, the fifth tip is to never underestimate static shots. Just like having your camera on a tripod for a good static shot, sometimes the best thing you can do with your drone is just leave it static and capture the natural motion that's happening. So this is a common one I use a lot for filming the ocean. Sometimes the best way to film the ocean is to just let the drone hover above the ocean, pointed straight down, and allow the ocean to do its thing and let those waves crash. If you look for natural motion in what you're trying to shoot, the drone is an awesome way to place a camera literally wherever you want and capture that natural motion without any camera movement. So if you take all of these tips, integrate them all into one drone flight, combine a little bit of low flight and revealing landscapes and filming characters, and then you sprinkle in just a little bit of DSLR footage or some handheld stuff, you can put together a really dynamic cinematic sequence.